What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the TheVaultProScooters. Today, you guys are joining me for another episode of What is New in Scootering. It's been quite a while since we've done an episode of one of these. There's a lot of cool product that has come out in the scooter world, and I've been dying to show you guys it, and this is gonna be one hell of an episode. So we're gonna be taking a look at all the new ethics stuff. We have a ton of new stuff from Prime. So without further ado, let's move on in to this episode of What's New in Scootering. Alrighty, so first product in today's video is gonna be the Ethic Legion V2 Fork. All right, so here it is, Ethic Legion V2 Fork. So the Legion V2 does have some aesthetic changes. As you guys can see, pretty different look. There's some cutouts here and engravings in the steer tube. It's got a very sleek look, to be honest. It looks like an Ethic fork. As far as specs go, the Legion V2 is compatible with up to 110mm wheels, no wider than 24mm wheels. Of course, you can ride SCS or HIC compression. Axle-wise, you are still gonna get just a male to female Allen wrench bolt, nothing too crazy. The compression bolt is Ethic's proprietary compression bolt, so it's a 6mm head on the top here. It's a very strong compression bolt. You're not just using an M8 bolt, you're using the full bolt that goes into the steer tube, so a little bit nicer in my opinion. As you guys can see, it says Legion 2, Ethic DTC on the side, very nice touch, and honestly, just a super sick fork. What Ethic did is they released an SCS and an HIC version of the Legion V2, as well as a 12 standard version. So not only do you have the Legion V2 in HIC, you have the Legion V2 in SCS, and then you also have the Legion V2 in 12 standard that is also available in an SCS or HIC variant. So I know some of you guys at home may be asking, what's the difference between an SCS and an HIC fork like that? What makes those different? Why are they separating them? Obviously, you're running HIC, you have the shim. So the HIC version of the Legion V2 steer tube is actually shorter than the SCS version. You only have so much room in your SCS clamp, and with every deck having a different size head tube because the scooter world just can't get all on the same page, you need some room to wiggle with. So what Ethic did is they offered it in two different sizes. Finally, the Legion V2 fork comes in at 7.6 ounces with hardware, so it's a light fork. If you guys are a fan of Ethic products, obviously you know that they do put a lot of their focus around weight. Another thing that I want to note is that this is the biggest Ethic release that we've had in years. Ethic has really just shown how great their products are, because products like the Artifact deck, the Pandemonium deck, the Dryad bars, all those products have just been around for so long, and they're still up to par and still competing with some of the recently released products when it comes to like weight and durability. So Kevin DeMay, shout out to you. You are one hell of a designer, man. You know what you're doing when it comes to designing scooter parts, so shout out to you. So all of the Legion V2 forks come in two colors. First one's black. Obviously you can see it's just this nice matte black. It's gonna match all the other Ethic products perfectly. And finally, you also can get the raw. Same exact fork, same exact specs, just available in raw. Quite beautiful if I say so myself. And I like how Ethic's raw is like a true raw. It's like that brushed aluminum. Just a big fan. I kind of like it. I don't like when things look too pretty. So that was the SCS/HIC version of the Legion 2 fork. This is crazy. They actually also have an IHC version. Retract my previous statement. So this guy comes in SCS, HIC, 12 standard, and HIC. And then all four of those variants also come in black and raw. So you have some million variations. It doesn't matter what compression or style you have, they have a product for you, and that's what it's all about. So I present to you guys the first Ethic IHC fork. This right here, this is a big deal. I've been waiting for this for a very long time, not because I would personally ride IHC. Personally, I think everybody should just be riding SCS. IHC has become insanely popular. Obviously, brands like Envy and Fasten and Root have really pushed IHC. I think, you know, when I think of Envy, I think of IHC. I can't lie, it is a good compression. Personally, I think everybody should just be riding SCS, but that is my opinion. My gripe with other compressions is that slit in your bar. All that slit in your bar is a weak point for failure. If you have that slit, no matter what, doesn't matter if you're an insane scooter rider or not, that slit, that cut is just a weakness. So by riding SCS, you eliminate that weakness. I don't like weaknesses on my scooter, but that's just me. But either way, Ethic has finally introduced an IHC fork to the world, and here it is. Ethic Legion V2 IHC model. Spec-wise, it is the exact same fork as the SCS or HIC version, except it is IHC. And the way Kevin DeMay designed this fork is actually really, really cool. Let me take off the compression bolt so I can show you guys. Okay, so what Ethic did is the first half of the fork is actually the same exact fork as the SCS or HIC standard. So the thickness of the steer tube here isn't actually any thinner than it would normally be. Same thickness as the SCS or HIC model, but then you guys can see it slowly starts to thin out where the IHC shim is actually gonna be on the fork, which is a really, really, really cool design because it means that the bottom half of the fork is stronger than most IHC forks because it's thicker, it's stronger. I don't believe Ethic is the first brand to do this, so I'm not gonna go and say that, but I will say it's really cool that they decided to go with that method. When it comes to the IHC shim that comes with the fork, the shim is actually very similar to how like Dryad and Oath does their IHC forks, where the compression ring is actually included onto the shim. So once you put this fork through your deck and your headset, you just have to slide the shim in and it automatically includes the compression ring, which is super nice. And then you also have your proprietary IHC bolt. The only difference from the IHC model to the SCS or the HIC models is the weight. The IHC model of the Legion V2 comes in at 9.4 ounces instead of the 7.6, I believe, that the SCS and the HIC is. But we're talking ounces, we're not talking pounds. 2 ounces is nothing in weight. Don't be discouraged just because this one's heavier than the other ones. This is still an amazingly great fork, and it is very light with all the hardware on it. This one also comes in 2 colors, just like the rest of the Ethic Legion V2 forks. This is raw, and this is black. It's quite beautiful, isn't it? It's like a Picasso, kind of. All right, so we've covered SCS, we've covered HIC and IHC. Let's move on to 12 standard. 12 standard. I don't see a lot of people riding 12 standard in America, but I know there's a few of you, so this one's for you. All right, finally, let's take a look at the 12 standard version of the Legion V2. This one, compared to the other Legions, is a bit different. It doesn't have the same cutouts here on the steer tube. It actually says Legion 12 standard, but this is the 12 standard version. Pretty similar in look as far as the actual fork goes, except there's this big boy 12 standard axle here, not the normal 8mm axle. I actually have, here is the SCS version of the fork, and I know it's the SCS version because it doesn't have a shim. If I set these guys side by side, you can see that the HIC version is taller. The SCS version is not as tall as it, and it's a pretty significant gap. So as you guys can see, they are different. So there you go. SCS is shorter, HIC is longer. So spec-wise, for the 12 standard Legion V2 fork, obviously fits up to 125mm wheels, all the way up to 12 standard wide wheels. At the moment, there is not 30 wide compatible spacers, so you can ride non-12 standard 30 wide wheels. However, it is still a pretty sleek fork. You can ride 12 standard wheels. Realistically, you should only be buying this fork if you're planning on riding 12 standard wheels. If you don't want to ride 12 standard wheels, just cop the other one. It is very light, I'm not gonna cap. Luckily, we have a scale. So the SCS version of the 12 standard Legion V2 fork weighs 9.8 ounces. Let's weigh the HIC version as well. Obviously, there's gonna be a bit of weight increase. There is a shim on here. Either way, for science, let's take a look. Alrighty, so the HIC version weighs 11.5 ounces. Once again, we're talking about ounces, very small gain in weight, but obviously with the longer steer tube and a shim, it's gonna weigh a bit more. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the Legion V2 forks. Let's keep on moving through this Ethic part train and see what's next. Next up is the Ethic Incube 2 wheel. The Incube wheel got a revitalized look as well, and to be honest, I think they killed it. I think they did such a great job at keeping the original look of the Incube wheel, but just updating it, you know? It's not too much different. The spokes have a little bit of an angle to them compared to just being straight. They killed it, to be honest with you. So, Incube V2 comes in 3 different sizes. You have 110mm by 24mm, you have 100mm by 24mm, and then you have 12 standard. So, it comes with pre-installed Ethic bearings, which are standard bearings, nothing too crazy. They have an 88A urethane rating. They are sold individually. So if you guys are on our website and you want to pick one of these up, make sure to add that quantity of 2 if you guys are looking to get a pair, which I would assume you guys are. When it comes to the 110mm variant, each wheel weighs 7.3 ounces. So a pair would weigh just under a pound, which is super cool. That's pretty much it for the specs. This wheel does come in a ton of cool colors. This is the blue colorway, super nice. It also comes in the traditional black. So this will probably be the more common size, more popular, just because black is the most popular colorway. Of course, you have neochrome. Who doesn't love neochrome? Finally, you have red. So I did mention that the wheel comes in 3 sizes. You have 110, you also have 100mm. It looks exactly the same as the 110, it's just a little bit smaller. It does also come in the 12 standard size, and I have one of those here just to show you. Obviously, Ethic is the king of the 12 standard world. They're the only company that's still just producing mass 12 standard parts. They got forks, decks, wheels, everything. In Europe, riding 12 standard is very popular. Ethic honestly is killing it out there. So hopefully the 12 standard trend will pick up out here and more riders will start riding it. As you guys can see, it's the exact same wheel, except it is 125mm instead of 110. And of course, it has the ginormous 12 standard bearing. Here is a normal Incube versus the 12 standard Incube. Pretty cool to see them side by side. So that's pretty much it for the Incube V2 wheel. If you guys are interested, the link for those are down below. Like I said, they come in 3 different sizes, sold individually. So make sure you guys add the quantity of 2 and you'll be good to go. Next up, let's take a look at the all new Ethic Dryad V2 Bars. This is the brand new version. I have to say, once again, Ethic killed it, keeping the original style, however, just revitalizing it, updating it with today's times, and they just killed it. The Dryad is one of Ethic's more popular are aluminum bars, features these gussets here to reinforce the crossbar. Is aluminum, so obviously you guys can ride IHC compression. You can ride SCS compression if you have a bar sleeve. However, cannot ride HIC compression with aluminum bars, just in case you guys didn't know that. These bars are super cool. They have this fluted side here, which is original to the previous model as well. I'm sure it's a weight saving method or something like that. Honestly, just a super cool bar. I know a ton of you guys are already a fan of the original one, so I'm sure you guys are gonna be super hyped on this one. Just like all Ethic bars, the Dryad 2 is no different. This guy comes in 3 different sizes. So you have 22.4 inches tall, you have 24.4 inches tall, and you also have 26.4 inches tall. As far as height goes, those are the 3 variants, but the width does not change. So all 3 variants of the Dryad V2 bars do come in at 22 inches wide. They do have a pre-installed slit, so if you guys are planning to ride IHC compression, you'll be good to go straight out of the box. But if you want to ride SCS compression, you will also be good straight out of the box, because all of these Ethic bars now come with a bar sleeve pre-installed or just in the box. If you want to ride SCS compression, you guys will not need to pick up a bar sleeve. When it comes to weight, so the smallest ones, which are the 22.4s, weigh 1.4 pounds. The next size up, which is the 24.4 inch ones, weigh 1.5 pounds. And finally, the largest size, the 26.4 inch tall version, weighs 1.6 pounds, which means this is an incredibly light aluminum bar. So shout out to Ethic, they killed it. This is the raw colorway, but there's also a black variant. So just like the forks, the bars only come in raw or black, but to be honest, those are the 2 most popular colors, so kind of can understand why they're doing it. Same exact bar, same exact specs, but just in black. Next up from Ethic is gonna be the all-new Valkyrie double clamp. So this is the first new clamp that we've seen from Ethic since they've released the Sylph clamp, which has honestly been around forever. Still one of the lightest, if not the lightest clamp around. And they also had a basic series double clamp. I believe the Valkyrie clamp is gonna be replacing the basic series double clamp because it's very similar in look, except just a little bit more modern. Obviously has an updated look. So this is just your standard aluminum double clamp. Comes with a shim, so this guy is compatible with both standard and oversized bars. You still have your normal M8 clamp bolts here from Ethic. Unfortunately, these ones are not gold. I was a big fan of the gold hardware that the other Ethic clamps had, but just a little bit more toned down. Obviously, if you had gold hardware on a red clamp, it might look a little bit weird. Either way, still a super slick clamp. Here on the front, you can see it has the Ethic logo, beveled in just a little bit here, so there's a little bit of a dip, but it's a very nice touch. Just gives a little bit of shape to the clamp. The Valkyrie double clamp does weigh 2 ounces with hardware, so obviously that is Ethic's thing. They focus a lot on the strength of their parts, but also the weight of their parts. So this guy weighs absolutely nothing. That's pretty much it spec-wise for the Valkyrie double clamp. There's not too much more to go in depth. 6mm bolts, fits oversized and standard bars. It's pretty much all you need to know. Comes in 4 colors. So this is red. Also have blue. Finally, we have black. Last but not least, you have neochrome. That's it for the Ethic Valkyrie double clamp. Once again, if you guys are interested in picking one of these up, the link for these will be down below. Super affordable, super light. Can pretty much never go wrong with anything from Ethic. It's time we finally move in to the decks. There is so many versions of the new decks, so many sizes, so many models, and really excited to finally talk to you about them. Some of these I didn't see coming, some of them I did, and I'm sure a ton of you guys are clicking on this video because you want to see what all the new Ethic decks are all about. So let's get into it. First one up is going to be the Erawan V2. If you guys don't know anything about the Ethic Erawan deck, it was the budget king. The original Erawan deck was incredibly affordable, very strong, very light. It was just a no questions asked deck. Like nobody needed a reason to buy it. They knew it was good. They knew it was affordable. Finally today, there is a second version of it. So the Erawan V2 comes 4.7 inches wide by 19.3 or 21.3 inches long. It has an 82.5 degree head tube angle, so pretty much what all Ethic decks have. Wheel-wise, they actually updated these decks, so you can actually ride up to 120mm wheels now on the Erawan deck. You can still ride 24mm wide wheels, and taking a look at these spacers, they actually look like they're different than the original spacers on the Erawan deck. These look like they can come out a little bit easier, and my guess is that they're gonna make some for different sized wheels. So if you wanna ride wider wheels, I'm sure Ethic is gonna offer that in the future, but as of right now, I believe you can only ride 24mm wide wheels on the Erawan V2. So you can step up to 120, you just can't step up to anything bigger than the 24mm wide wheels. Axle wise, you still have the same male to female axle that's pretty much come on all the Ethic decks. No big deal there. And of course, you still have the brake bolt here on the bottom of the deck. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this. I like the brake bolt mounting on the bottom more than I like the brake bolts mounting on the top. The fact that Ethic is included this ginormous brake bolt, 6mm head, just ensures that your brake's not going to be coming loose. It's going to stay nice and tight and not rattle around. Not a big fan of that. Other than that, the Erawan deck is primarily the same. Obviously, the head tube here is a little bit different. The shape of it is for the most part the same, but there is a little bit more detail here in the crevice. You can see there's some slash marks. It says Ethic, and these are actually raised in the aluminum, so it's a really nice touch when you feel it. I don't speak French. I don't really know what this says. Oh, that's not French. It's just cursive. I'm an idiot. So on the side of the deck, on the head tube, it says Ethic DTC Erawan Deck 2. So no mistaking this guy for the original Erawan deck. If you guys are riding this or you see it out there, you will immediately know that it is the V2, so no mistaking that. On the head tube, just has the Ethic logo, proudly representing. And on the bottom, as you can see, there is a, I don't know, is that a hand? A skeleton? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I have no idea what that graphic is. Comment down below what this graphic is, because I have no idea. Last thing about the Erawan V2 deck is the smaller size weighs 2.9 pounds and the larger size weighs just over 3 pounds. Very, very small weight difference, very light deck, very cool update. Shout out to Ethic. This is the black colorway. I'm sure you guys can already guess it's raw. Here it is, Erawan V2 deck in raw. This deck also did come in a bunch of different colors originally, the V1, but this time around, they pulled back, only offering it in raw and black. Who knows, maybe we'll see it in more colors in the future. All right, that was the Erawan V2. Let's talk about the brand new Ethic deck. This is a completely new deck replacing the Artifact deck, RIP. This is the brand new Ethic deck. It's called the Pandora deck. I don't know if you guys can see that. It says Pandora here. The Pandora deck comes 5.1 inches wide by either 20.5 or 22 inches long. This deck is compatible with 12 standard wheels. As you can see, it comes stock with the axle, 12 standard, and the 12 standard spacers. However, it does also come with conversion spacers. And finally, the Ethic decks also come with a axle, a normal 8mm axle. Prior to these ones, they came with 12 standard axles in the box, and they did not come with a normal 8mm axle, so everybody bought one. They opened it up, they weren't riding 12 standard, you had to go buy an axle. It was a big pain in the butt, but these new decks, they come with axles, so you're good to go. Also, taking a look at the back, these ones have rounded dropouts. So this is the first Ethic deck that I've seen in a while that actually has these like peg-like dropouts, fully rounded ones that you can actually flip or rotate if you want, and honestly, are gonna make 5.0s and grinds just an absolute blast. The brake is an Ethic 12 standard brake, so you can see it actually says 12 standard on the top of it, just letting you know. Obviously, if you don't plan to ride 12 standard and you don't want the beefy brake, you can just buy the normal Ethic brake, slap it on, you'll be good to go. As we move up to the head tube, you guys can see that the head tube shape and design is similar to an Artifact deck. Like I mentioned, this deck is replacing it. So what my belief is that they took what was the Artifact V2 deck and essentially updated it. Forgot to mention, Pandora deck, 84-degree head tube angle, so it's different. The Erawan had an 82.5-degree head tube angle. And finally, the smallest size of the Pandora deck weighs 3 pounds, very light. And the largest size weighs 3.1 pounds. Here's the bottom of the Pandora deck. Ethic DTC, Pandora with the, I'm assuming that's Pandora's box because it's called Pandora and that's a box. Last but not least, this deck comes in 2 colors. This is black. Can you guess what the other color is, guys? It's raw. I don't have it with me. We're actually out of stock at the moment, but just imagine this deck in raw. All right, we can finally move on to the brand new Ethic Vulcan V2 deck. This is the non-boxed version, so as you can see, there is not boxed ends or squared ends. It has these rounded ones, but this is the updated version of the original Vulcan deck. This was a very popular deck. It was honestly the perfect hybrid deck. It was that perfect combination of size and weight. It wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. Perfect for hybrid riders. If you were a fan of doing bri flips, but you also love to go backlip a rail, the Vulcan deck was a perfect option for you, so I'm really excited to see what the version 2 has to offer. Starting off with the specs, the Vulcan V2 deck comes 5.5 inches wide. The original Vulcan deck was the same size as the Pandora deck. It was 5.1. However, Ethic's decks are moving up in size, as you guys will see in just a bit. So the Vulcan deck is now 5.5 inches wide. Lengthwise, you have the option between 21.3 inches long or 22.8 inches long. The Vulcan V2 deck has an 83.5-degree head tube angle. And wheel compatibility wise, nothing has changed from the previous Vulcan deck. It comes 12 standard ready. However, you do have 12 standard conversion spacers and a replacement axle in the box waiting for you, so you'll be good to go. I believe this is the same exact graphic from the original Vulcan deck, maybe a little different. You can see that there is a number 2 there. letting you know that this is the version 2. The front plate of the deck, where your blunt plate is and where you would crook, I believe is a little bit different on this one than the original one. This one definitely is more square. There's a lot more surface here. Definitely is more reminiscent of the Lindworm V3 box deck. I think they took the front of that extrusion and put it on this one, which I think is a big deal. It's gonna give you a little bit more room to do nose blunts. If you're a fan of crook grinds, you'll have a little bit easier of a time on this guy than the previous one. Very, very nice head tube shape. I like all the cutouts. Obviously, it's gonna reduce as much weight as possible. I like this really cool design right here, where obviously it says Vulcan on the head tube. There's also the Ethic logos here. Before we move on to the boxed version, let's go ahead and talk weight. The smallest of the Vulcan decks weighs 3.4 pounds, and the largest of the Vulcan non-box deck weighs 3.6 pounds. This is the raw colorway, of course. Let's take a look at the black. Alrighty, so here is the black Vulcan V2 deck. Same exact one as the raw, obviously just in a black colorway. All right, so let's take a look at the Vulcan V2 box deck. This deck has the squared ends. So if you notice, the end of this deck doesn't have the cutouts on the end like a traditional scooter deck does. This one has the fully squared deck ends, which is super popular in today's world. However, there is a ton of riders, especially in Europe, that love riding pegs. So that's why Ethic continues to offer the boxed and the non-boxed version. Or if you're just on a rider that does a lot of grinds, you probably don't really need the squared ends. So shout out to Ethic for offering it to both ends, but overall, the choice is yours. As far as the box deck goes, it is essentially the same exact deck as the normal V2. The only big difference is the squared ends. Obviously, the squared ends are gonna offer a bit of weight difference as well. You're gonna have a little bit more material. So the smallest of the sizes in the Vulcan V2 box deck weighs 3.6 pounds, and the largest size weighs 3.7 pounds. Bit heavier than the normal Vulcan deck. Very light deck, very sick deck, and whether you want non-boxed ends or you want boxed ends, these decks are sick. I know a lot of people like them, and if you're interested, the link is down below. Obviously, that was the black version. Here's the raw colorway. Same exact deck as the black box one. I'm sorry if that's getting annoying to say, but I just want to make it clear that there's no difference. This is just the raw colorway of the Vulcan box deck. And it is finally time to move in to what most of you have probably clicked on this video to see, the Ethic Lindworm V4 deck. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Ethic Lindworm V4. First things first is this deck now comes in 2 sizes. However, these 2 sizes are the largest Ethic decks that they have ever made. The smallest size that this deck comes in is 5.9 inches wide, and it also comes in a 6.3-inch wide version. So if you guys are a fan of larger decks and you're on that wave of riding all the big decks, there's finally a 6 wide option from Ethic, which we've all been kind of just waiting on. We knew it was coming, and I'm super excited to finally have it. And it's not even 6, it's 6.3, which is crazy. There's not a lot of 6.3 variants out there, and if you want one, Ethic has it for you. So when it comes to the 5.9 variant, like I said, it is 5.9 inches wide by 21.3 inches long or 22.8 inches long. The Lindworm V4 does have an 83.5-degree head tube angle. When it comes to wheel compatibility, it is the same as the previous gen deck. You can fit 12 standard wheels straight out of the box, but it does come with the conversion spacers and finally an axle so you guys can ride your normal wheels immediately. The brake is the new Ethic brake, and it is the 12 standard version, just like the Vulcan box deck and the Vulcan deck. So if you want to ride a normal brake with the normal wheels, you guys can just purchase the normal Ethic brake and you'll be good to go. Compared to the previous Ethic Lindworm V3 box deck, this guy does have a completely redesigned back end. The previous Lindworm V3 box deck actually had welded on dropouts, so you could see the weld on the top. But with the Lindworm V4, what they ended up doing was taking the back end of a Vulcan box deck and essentially putting the spacer and deck end system that that one had on this deck. So if you look at the back end of a Vulcan V1 box deck, it's gonna look very similar to a Lindworm V4 box deck. It's honestly a better system in my opinion. It has these nice aluminum dropouts that fit in perfectly. They're aluminum, so they're gonna slide super nice. And if you need to buy replacements, you can, which is awesome as well. But that is one big change from the V3 box deck to the V4 box deck. Another quick difference between the V3 box deck and the V4 box deck is the V4 is matte black. I just think they ended up going with matte black just to kind of keep with the theme of all the other Ethic decks and Ethic parts. This one still has the beautiful Lindworm head tube shape that is pretty much just stamped into my brain. I love the way it looks. I just think back to like the the Ethic Australian video where Monkey and all those dudes were just tearing up Australia on the Lindworm, and feels like yesterday, but it was a long time ago. So if you guys are a fan of that video, let me know. The smallest version weighs 4.2 pounds, and the largest version of the 5.9 variant weighs 4.4 pounds. Honestly, for a deck this size, that's not too bad. Nothing is really different between the 5.9 and the 6.3 other than size and weight. Length options are still the same, so you can choose between 21.3 or 22.8, pretty much up to you, but you do have the option for 6.3 inches wide. Head tube angle is the same, wheel compatibility is the same. The only difference really is the weight. So the smallest version of the 6.3 inch wide Lindworm V4 weighs 4.4 pounds, which is the same as the largest version of the 5.9, and the largest version of the 6.3 inch wide Lindworm V4 weighs 4.6 pounds. This deck is beautiful. As you can see, it says Lindworm V4 here on the top of the deck. The white really does pop on the matte black. Take a look here on the bottom. It says Lindworm. You got V4 here. Here on the side, you can see it says boxed. It's got the Ethic 12 standard logo and lets you know what size your deck is in millimeters. Honestly, just a super sick deck. Very happy it's here. So this is the black version. It does also come in a raw version. I don't know what happened. I guess I didn't grab the raw version. So what I'm gonna do is just grab Richard Zelinka's custom build. So this is it. Same exact deck as the matte black one. It is just in raw. All the white etching is still white, but it's just not as visible. In case you just don't want to ride a black deck and you want something with a little bit more color, you can go with the raw. So that is gonna be it for all of the new Ethic products. I hope you guys enjoyed all that. There was so much new stuff, and all of it is available right now, TheVaultProScooters.com. So pick yourself up whatever you want. Be the first in your friend group to have it. Use your favorite rider's coupon code to save a little bit of money, and we promise you, you will enjoy it. Alrighty, so that's it for all the Ethic stuff. Before we move into all the new stuff from Prime, I'm gonna go ahead and head on over to our YouTube channel where you guys are watching the video right now and read some comments. Alrighty, so my boy E30 commented, I remember when the Stan Smirnoff Reventon came out and it was considered crazy and way wider than you'd ever need. To be honest with you, man, I completely remember that deck as well. I was actually at Woodward Lewis Williams and he was riding the Stan Smirnoff deck. It was like the first time I met a scooter rider that was from overseas. He just blew my mind as a kid watching him. I've never seen somebody scooter like he rode scooters. He was just flipping so high and had so much confidence, and he was riding the Stan Smirnoff Reventon deck at the time, and I was riding the Dan Barrett Reventon deck at the time. Shout out Dan Barrett, shout out Phoenix. The Reventon deck was amazing. If you guys don't know what the Phoenix Reventon deck is, it is a piece of scooter history that has a special place in my heart. I remember seeing the Stan Smirnoff deck and just being like shook at how big it was, and to think that we're riding 7-inch wide scooter decks now is insane. Dang, next comment coming from Josh Toy. Josh Toy, dude, I miss you, Josh. And he said, you can't miss a 50, Zach Poon will find a way. And he also said, I love you, Zach, it's just a joke. Zach Poon is the only person I've ever seen body themselves so hard by not landing in a 50 right, and he's riding a 6.6-inch wide deck. Alrighty, so thank you again to everybody who left a comment on the previous videos. I know I said it, but I'll say it again. Make sure you guys are commenting on our videos and liking them, because you never know. We read comments in every episode of What's New in Scootering. We're gonna be trying our best to crank one of these out every week, so you have a strong chance to make an appearance in one of these videos if you guys are leaving comments. So make sure to leave them. And now we can finally move in to all the new products from our boys over at Prime. First things first, let's talk about the Prime Flash SCS clamp. This is the first SCS clamp that we've seen from Prime. They did release the Vice double clamp earlier last year. Super sleek clamp. It was black with a red P logo. So this is a 4-bolt SCS clamp. It is compatible with both oversized and standard bars. The look of the clamp is a little reminiscent to like the Tilt Arc clamp and a few others. It has its own unique look. It's very futuristic, and honestly, it fits with the look of all the other Prime parts. So I'm definitely a big fan of that. The clamp bolts are your traditional M8 6mm clamp bolts. Inside, you do get an M8 compression bolt and an M8 washer, just like every other SCS clamp for the most part. So when it comes to weight, the Flash SCS clamp comes in at just over half a pound, which is incredibly light for an SCS clamp. This one not only looks good, but it's also very light. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, other than that, not much more to talk about spec-wise, just an SCS clamp. The guy looks incredible and obviously is very functional. When it comes to colors, first things first, it comes in this beautiful gloss red. Honestly, just a beautiful colorway. I love that it's gloss and it's not anodized. And it also comes in matte black. So this is matte black with the red P here in the center. This is exactly what the original Vice double clamp looked like. So it was matte black with the red P, and it pretty much matches this guy perfectly. nicely. I actually did forget to mention that the Prime Vortex fork is also now available in red. I'm not gonna go through all the specs of this fork just because I already did in a previous video. It is now available in red, so this guy will match perfectly with the SCS clamp, so you guys can have these two on your scooter, have a fire looking setup. Alrighty, now with those out of the way, let's dive into the rest of the brand new Prime parts. Maxime Bouzid, one of my favorite people in scootering ever, such an incredible scooter rider. He has been putting in an endless amount of hard work. He has been killing it. He's had some pretty serious injuries and he has been just coming back stronger and better every time, and I absolutely idolize it and respect it. So what Prime did is they rewarded the man with his very own signature fork. Shout out to Maxime. This is well deserved. So hyped for you, man. This thing looks incredible. This fork right here is definitely giving me some like R Gold epic forks. Gives me that vibe. But either way, this is the Prime Maxime Bouzid signature fork. Spec-wise, this is a 12 standard fork. So obviously it comes with your 12 standard axle here. You do also get conversion spacers. So if you want to ride smaller wheels, you can. However, these forks do not come with an 8mm axle. So if you buy this fork and you want to ride the smaller wheels, you have the conversion spacers, but you do need to get a 2-inch normal axle and then you'll be good to go. It is an SCS or HIC compatible fork that runs a M8 compression bolt. So you can pretty much only ride SCS or HIC with this fork. And finally, the Maxime Bouzid fork only weighs 0.7 pounds, pretty much a third of a pound. And this thing is incredibly light, even with the 12 standard axle. Very light fork, very good looking fork, and an incredible rider. As far as the look of the fork, it is completely different than the previous Prime fork. So this is obviously the Vortex fork, and this is the Maxime fork. This one just has a lot more design going on here in the center. It's cut out more. It's not as hollow as the Vortex fork, and it also features the cutout P logo, which is super nice instead of it just being black. Obviously, if you have really cool urethane color wheel going through here, you're gonna see that through the P logo, which is awesome. It has these little cutouts here on the corner here just to give it a little bit more shape. And yeah, man, just a sweet looking fork and very well deserved. On the side here, you have the Maxime Bouzid key logo, and you have his name here with Prime Scootering. This fork does only come in one color option, which is black, like you have here. Maybe we'll see it in another color later in time, but as of right now, this guy only comes in this one. Shout out to Maxime. Love you, brother. This is well deserved. You killed it. If you guys want to pick it up and support him, link is down below. Okay, next up is going to be another signature fork from Prime, and this one is the Anthony Michlik. I believe that's how you pronounce your last name, man. If I butchered it, I'm so sorry. Another absolute killer of a scooter rider, another well-deserving fork, and this one looks completely different than the other ones. This fork features all the same specs as the Maxime Bouzid fork, same wheel compatibility and stuff like that. The only difference is this one weighs a little bit different. This one comes in at 0.8 pounds, so just a bit heavier than the Maxime fork, but nothing too crazy. This fork is also a traditional matte black colorway instead of the glossier black that the Maxime fork is. It features a completely different fork design. It has the 3 arms here on each side of the fork. The middle one has this nice indentation in it, just giving it a little bit of shape, offering a very unique looking fork. Definitely set itself aside from the rest of the forks in the scooter world right now. It says Prime here on the side, very nicely. And on the front of the fork, on the arms, it says his name. It says Anthony Michlik right there, just letting you know from the front of the fork that this is his signature fork. Of course, you have the same M8 compression bolt and cap. You have the same 12 standard axle and the conversion spacers in the box. Shout out to Anthony. Shout out to Prime. Link will be down below. Let's move into the last product of today's video. Whew, it has been a long one. Let's take a look at the Prime Scooters Trigger T-Bar. All right. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Previously, Prime had 2 other bar options to offer. They had one that was more similar to a Rad Crow, and then they also had the Storm Bar. I believe those ones are still available. However, they finally have a steel T-bar option. This bar does come in 2 different sizes. This one here is 28.7 inches tall, and then they also offer a 31.1 inches tall. Prime is offering a 31-inch tall T-bar for all you riders out there that just can't get bars that are tall enough for you. So when it comes to the 28.7-inch variant, obviously it is 28.7 inches tall by 23.6 inches wide. It is a chromoly steel T-bar. This guy is oversized and does have a stock slit. They currently only come in oversized with the stock slit. They don't offer a standard option, but maybe we'll see that in the future. On the side of the bar, you have the Prime logo here in that gloss red, as well as on the crossbar, you have the small P logo here. Very nice. It accents nicely, and obviously it'll match the rest of your Prime parts if you guys already have some. Fairly light T-bar. The 28.7-inch option weighs just over 3 pounds, which is pretty much on point for what a bar at this size should weigh. And the 31.1-inch option weighs 3.1 pounds. So just a tad bit heavier, but nothing too crazy. Prime just wanted to offer a T-bar for all you riders out there that prefer a T-bar. So if you're a fan of Prime or you're just a fan of T-bars and you're looking to get a new set, you should definitely check these out. Prime is a rider-owned brand, like I said, owned by Boris Germain, and they are doing crazy things in scootering, so make sure to check them out. And if you guys want to pick up this bar, you know where to do it. Alrighty, so that is the end of this episode of What's New in Scootering. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to let us know by just hitting that like button down below, making sure you're subscribed, and interacting with us in the comment section. These videos are a blast to make. We hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace.